my god. Hey, what up, folks? Me and Krett are back with another episode of Really? And we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Of course, today is Thursday, January 29th, towards the end of the first month. How you doing, bud?
You know, I'm doing good. Can I call you Tom?
I hate you.
I'm doing good, F Swag.
Please call me Tom. Please.
All right.
F Swag.
I'm doing really good, Tom. You know, I had a nice day. I went out for lunch before the show, and I had some boar. I love boar. Always energizes me, and I am.
That makes sense because you're boring.
I know exactly. It's perfect. So I can't wait to be boring, and shit talk you, and like the normal stuff that we usually do. Banter. Isn't that what they call it in Europe? I'm learning.
That's what the European kids call it. They call it banter. It is bantering back and forth, and there's no segue for this. But the Combine happened last week, and that was actually really, really, really cool.
Really?
Let that one soak. Yeah, it was actually pretty sweet. I was happy with the idea and glad that it happened, and was actually very excited. How'd you feel about it?
It was cool in theory, but in reality, I don't know how useful it was.
Okay, expand. I really like that. I love what you just said, so tell me more.
All right. So I scouted 3 games, and the second game was, I think, the game played closest to a professional competitive level. It was Unique was on one of the teams. He was a very good jungler, right? Even if he was on one of the lower tier North American SPL teams, he's very good, and he has an intimate knowledge of the scene. And so what happened early on is the Order team made a call to start their duo lane off by getting speed buff and blue buff, right? Their jungler, Kali, goes to mid lane. They can't share the speed and the back harpies properly, so she's level 4. That puts her about half a level behind Unique, who spends 30 seconds waiting between the blue buff and the speed buff on Order side to gank the duo lane. He walks up, he kills them, gets a double kill, and snowballs the game. And now, that's what happens if you make a tactical mistake like that in a professional game, right? Like, you can't do that. But you don't necessarily know that until you're playing at that level, and that's sort of like the idea of my problem, right? Like, scouting players is cool, but I don't think there are many Combine games that were played at a really high level. Like, there were high-level games. Everyone was Platinum and higher. But there weren't games that were at a competitive level.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I mean, in one sense, it wasn't really the thought to have competitive games, right? Like,
for sure.
I mean, and so some of this, I completely agree with you. But some of this falls on the scout's ability or lack thereof. I was a scout too, so shots in my face. Thereof. So like the ability of the scouts or lack thereof to really grab important information from what they're given, right? Like, I mean, you watch somebody play, right? And they're part of a horrible team, and it's a horrible game going on, but you can see fundamentals going on, right? Like, you can see the correct, whether it's invades or... That's a big question, and that's sort of what I'm speaking to. Like, we don't... If you're watching a traditional sport, you can say, all right, this guy, it's 5-on-5 basketball, and 4 people on his team are horrible, and the other 5 people are horrible, but I can watch him, like, he knows how to dribble the ball and shoot. There's like normal stuff that you can drag out of it, right? Like, what are the fundamentals of Smite? Like, what are we supposed to drag out of that? Is it rotations? Is it intimate knowledge of timers? What really are the fundamentals of Smite?
I mean, I suppose there's... let's talk about the Hunter role, specifically. So we could just focus on one role and cut out a lot of the other conversations that you would necessarily have to have. Because otherwise this would be an hour-long conversation, right? So, for a Hunter, you've got positioning, you've got hitting your auto attacks, you've got knowledge of your lane and like when to go in, when to play passive, how to farm the wave properly, how to pressure your opponent, how to rotate out of lane, where to stay in a team fight. Like,
Yeah, hunters are
how
good
to
because
communicate,
everything you
and
just said, yeah.
so communication as well, like, is crucial, right? You could have the best player in the world, but if they don't communicate, then that's a burden to their team, no matter how good they are. Like, unequivocally, communication is a good thing. More
Of
communication is
course.
better.
Of course.
So you could see, like, what should a hunter communicate? Well, it's not as much as other roles, right? Hunters don't need to communicate as much as supports and junglers, but they do need to say, hey, they're attacking me, or hey, I used my ROM ult defensively. So you can come bail them out when they land, or whatever. And yes, you can get a grasp on some of those things. But that doesn't tell the whole story, and I'm gonna call out Nantan here, right? I think Nantan is a player that has the potential to play professionally. But, as we saw in Season 1 of the SPL, he had to make the difficult decision to put his college career ahead of professional gaming. It's not an easy decision, but it's one that you have to respect. I don't care who you are. Like, it's a respectable decision.
No, it's like, I totally respect that, dude. Like, there's, I mean, it's a conversation that tons of kids have all over the world, and we're talking a lot of these days about professional gaming being more in the mainstream, and this is an issue that a lot of people that chase mainstream sports have to do. Like, I'm pretty good at, basketball, football, hockey, golf, but will I really make it to the NBA, NFL, NHL, PGA Tour? So is it worth my investment? And pro gaming is an even harder investment, really. Like,
Sure.
I would say there's probably less people out there trying to become a Smite professional than any of those sports I just mentioned professional, but the amount of open slots is also much smaller. There's not, on a pro football team, there's what, like 50 positions, and how many pro football teams are there? 30 something, 50, like, that's a lot of spots, despite the fact that there are tons and tons and tons and tons of people trying to make it out there. We don't really have all that, and it's a gamble.
Well, yes, for sure. I mean, the other thing is, and I think this is part of a problem with the rhetoric around the Combine, and a problem with part of the approach to the Combine. Realistically, we're not going to see a player from the Combine who's previously unknown show up on a pro team. Like, pro teams aren't going to take that gamble, because you go off of reputation and knowing people. There's, it was in Media Day, the Esports presentation, me, Weekend, and Incon were talking about how we got to where we were. And I just sort of did stuff for a long time, and eventually something came of it. And Incon played ranked to a really high level, and then was invited to join Snipe. And Weekend knew Incon from mediocrity a long time ago, and then, like, came back in that way through knowing people. But realistically, you're not going to take someone for your professional team that you've seen play one or two games. Like, maybe they can get a tryout, but it's just, realistically, the Combine
the tryout
is filling out
is what you're looking for.
For sure, but I think realistically the Combine is filling out teams for the Challenger Cup, which, like, is totally legitimate and useful. It's just, it's not a direct path into professional play, it's a direct path into competitive play.
Yes, and I kind of feel like that's totally fine. Like, that's totally what we're looking for,
but we should
right?
be honest about that.
Okay. I didn't have a problem with that at all. I didn't feel like it was misleading. That to me seems very, like, I don't know, that seemed like what it was for,
I don't think it was misleading, but I think some people were misled. If that makes sense. I think some people didn't really realize that, like, you're not going to get an invite from Not So Dignitas after this, right? Like, I don't care how well you perform. That's just, it's not really how pro teams work. But you definitely could be on the next Titan, right? You could definitely be on the next Agilitas, and that's awesome. And I saw some great players. It's just, you still have to grind.
I think it'd be, and I'm going to throw that on the players. If you realistically thought that you were coming to this Combine to play 3 freaking games and have Cloud9 pick you up, which we'll talk about in a little bit, then, dude, I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you and a plot of land in Alaska to sell you as well.
And let me tell you about moving to Connecticut. It's a great idea.
Like, it just, that's your own goddamn fault if you think you're coming into this combine and think that that's what's going to happen. Because it's not. What's going to happen is you're going to be put on the scene. And I mean, again, I want to draw the comparison to traditional sports. Because there's a whole different infrastructure there, Krett. There's a whole, like, when LeBron James and these players come out, people follow them from goddamn high school, sometimes middle school. You check out ESPN at the wrong hour, and you're going to find some guy talking about this 8th grader he's watching. And you know what happens? They watch him in 8th grade, and then they watch him in 10th grade and 11th and 12th, and they watch him in freaking college, and Jesus Christ, there's all this infrastructure. And that's something that Smite doesn't have. So you need this sort of combine to sort of like, hey, look, listen, like Navi it out. Not the team.
But at the same time, I think there's an infrastructure for that already in the game. It's called grind ranked until you're in the Masters games, and then people will know who you are. Sure.
Yes. I don't think a bronze player...
it's a shitty system.
Exactly, it's shitty. Let me put it this way. I don't think a bronze player can be a professional and blame losing ranked that much on teams
there are
and
players who
interpersonal
don't play
shit.
Ranked, but yeah.
Yeah, Zalea doesn't play ranked at all. But like, I don't think that like a player in bronze that tries and plays ranked will be a professional because ranked is a different beast. But ranked is a different beast, and I think that there's diamond, platinum, masters. I think that whole players pool is viable depending on the player themselves. Like, if I see a diamond player, they could be professional if they were with a full 5-man team, because some players get better with that. I would assume all
League
players
of Legends,
get better.
I'm pretty sure that's a thing. There are players who their ranked division isn't the highest.
Yeah, like Boy or Hi-Rez for the longest time was like gold. And he's one of both of them are like some of the better players. Well, not so much Boy anymore. But you know what I'm saying? Like, rip curse. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are things that, like, it's professional Smite is a 5-on-5 game, and ranked is a solo queue. There's a certain level of raw talent that will prevent you from being bronze or silver 5, but at a certain point, that skill will only be exaggerated by being on a team. So, yeah, you're totally right. The top of the top of the top cert will be found out through Masters, but we need a team to take Thirst's place. We need a team to be the worst in pro Smite. And that's really, you got to start off there, and that's what we're talking about, right? Like, I kind of feel those are the players we're looking for with the Combine.
For sure. And that's, in my scouting, I was looking for players who already have good communication, because those are the players that can join a team and that team can grow, right?
Exactly.
You need to so Abi with 2 Y's played mid in the first game I watched, which was a really good game. Really, really good players in that game. Rayberg as well. And Abi's team lost. He went 10-2 on a losing team as Scylla. But what I saw that I loved was they lose a team fight, and Abi was like, okay, we did this, next time we can do this other thing. And that's the kind of thing that is really useful to join in a challenger team. You need players who can grow and who can identify their own mistakes, which is why I think, critiquing Combine players on, hey, you missed a skill shot, if they don't know that, they're not going to get through the Challenger Cup. You have to learn to, look at your own mistakes. Or you need to hire a coach.
Yeah, I mean, definitely hire a coach.
In fact, do both.
But, no, I mean, you're 100% right. What I think we talked a lot about fan service last week. And about separating the sport from the fan service. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the great things that this Combine did was generate excitement for Smite.
Yeah.
That was a huge deal. it just generated so much excitement. You got all these players like, hey, I can do this. I can do this. What the reality will, I do want to finish that conversation, whatever the reality of it was. But one of the coolest things was that you had these players out there saying like, yo, I can do this. I can be on the next team. You know what I mean? And that's really, as someone that wants to see the scene grow, that's what I saw, and that's what I cared about.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hope it helps people flesh out their rosters going into the Challenger Cup or, whatever, and I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a Combine player coming through the wild cards. But at the same time, it's not a highway to professional play. You still have to grind. That's what really the core of my point is. You still will have to grind like everyone has. Everyone in the competitive scene today, with the possible exception of, I'm trying to think of anyone who got there. Right,
Barracuda?
even no.
Even Barracuda.
When Vicious and Delicious first formed, it was Eninster, Barracuda, You Won't, Heater, and I want to say Eonic. And that team was only one player. It was really just the Eninster support squad. And over time, they made roster changes and the team grew, but they had to grind to get there. Even Boosh, who is one of the newer, very successful competitive players, lost on the Game Changers for months before he started winning. It's just hard, and you're just gonna lose a lot. And looking at before we had the Challenger Cup, back when you had to grind to become the 4th place team or the whatever, what you did was you scrimmed professional teams and you lost in the first 10 minutes over and over and over again until you stopped losing in the first 10 minutes. And then you lost in the second 10 minutes, and you did that, and eventually you got to late game, and eventually you took a match.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you gotta do.
It's just a grind. So make no mistake, the Combine's cool, and it generated a lot of excitement, and I hope people who went through that are successful, and to that end, I'm offering free coaching for two Combine teams next Thursday, and that's for 2 teams that have Combine players on them, so you can't just be whatever. But you're gonna have to grind, because it's hard.
No, of course. But at the same time, Krett, that grind is real. Like Dr. Massacre just said 2 things in chat. He said that most people are really positive on in minor tournaments where players get really salty because there's a desire to win rather than just a desire to show off. And then Dr. Massacre said earlier, he was like, dude, I went to the Combine and I got 2 legit team invites. Does that? And I don't mean to put Dr. Massacre on the spot here. Does that name mean anything to you outside of seeing him in the Combine?
I mean, I feel like I'm BM if I say I haven't heard of him, but I haven't heard of him.
Yeah, he's 74th overall in all of Smite players. He's in Masters.
Huh.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. He already did the grind. He's grinding. He's playing with the big teams and the big boys in Masters. He's 74th overall. You got Barracuda #1 and people above him, of course, but you click on next page and all of a sudden I start to see players below him like Divios, Dare to Care, Reels X, Hi-Rez Ponpon, Half Devil. These are all people on the next page. Boxers of 3v3 fame. Okay? So people have grinded. People have done it. They're like, hey, what's up? I'm here. And then they're still not getting the love. Combine is the place to get that spotlight. And that's what we're seeing. So that's
part of it is
that's what it's for.
Without diving into the issue as a whole, I think part of it is the ranked culture in Smite is just weak right now relative to how it has been in the past.
Very true.
And that is a completely different conversation that we are not getting into today.
Yeah.
But it is, and so hitting Masters now doesn't add you to a community the same way it has in the past.
Exactly, because the community is so much larger. The queuing community, if you will, has gotten so much larger.
Because of a lot of things.
Right. And like Meerkat says in chat, it is super important to play ranked. That is #1. But Dr. Massacre is the perfect example of somebody that played ranked, did well. Number 74. He's got a 56% win rate, so it's not the best in the world, but I mean, shit, Barracuda's is 56% win rate exactly as well. You know, he's just played a lot more games. So it's sort of like 1 and 2. Like, you need both checks. A lot of these players like played with the combine, but are, you know, not known in ranked. Some of these players are known in ranked, but didn't play in the combine. You know, you kind of need like, hey, I'm good at ranked, and here's my spotlight, or like put me on spotlight, and I'll get good. It's a multiple checklist. It's a soft checklist. It's not like, well, you hit Masters, go collect your Challenger Cup team. So getting noticed and playing well is. There's a lot there, and that's really what we need to see. And the combine generated interest on a player level. We saw a couple of people say that the combine encouraged them to play ranked, and it also generated interest on a organization level. Teams, you said it yourself, teams came out of here. I mean, I think it was APC who was like, dude, we put a team together for the combine, and they finished the game, and we're like, let's just play together.
Yeah. And, like, that's awesome. I do want to touch on, I suppose, like, the standard path, right? The path we've seen players get into competitive playthrough most often, and it does involve ranked. As Meerkat said in chat, like, ranked doesn't matter for getting better.
No, it doesn't.
For the most part, that's true. Like, to some extent, like, if you can't get platinum or higher, well, either you just don't want to play ranked, which I totally understand. I think a lot of people totally understand. But if you're a serious competitive player, you should be able to get plat or higher. And then it's just sort of like, it helps you get noticed. It helps you keep your skills sharp, even if it's not really like making you get better. Mm-hmm. And then once you get on a team, you just have to get better as a team and learn the game competitively. You could be a Masters player who's never played competitive in your life, and you can be Pretty Prime. So the first time Pretty Prime played competitive Smite, he subbed in for C9, I believe, but back with Suntouch in the jungle. He played Zeus when Zeus was still good, and he got completely demolished. Because he hadn't been a competitive player. Like, he didn't know that he couldn't make this rotation at this time. He walked into left jungle, and he got murdered because he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. And if he had been playing competitively for the past 2 months, he would have known that. And it's just sort of like, you have to make that jump. And that jump is going to suck. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely one of the bigger growing pains. Hashtag Gnaw. Like, we saw that. Yeah. We saw that happen in Gnaw exactly. Like, so when Dignitas, as they were called at the time, came into season 1, they had a new support, Dare to Care, who's played before with Cog, and Gnaw, who's never played on a competitive Smite team. He's played other competitive games, so that's a different story. But like, homie just didn't do well, and it was part synergy with the team and part like being new to competitive, and it took a week, and then it was fine, right? Like it was like totally fine. Yeah, it took 2 weeks. It took a week for the team. It took 2 weeks for him personally. Sure. 2.5, you know, and then it was fine. Like, and that's going to be different for players, but you know, it's who did we see come out of a bad Challenger Cup team and rise? Was it Adapting? That really, he was like part of like I5, Adapting. And then he like moved on up, and then he was Team
Toast,
right?
as well, who is also part of I5.
iRaffer. That is who I'm referencing. iRaffer. It wasn't Adapting, although Adapting is very good. Shouts to anybody who picks them up on a team.
We'll get there in later on in the show.
But iRaffer is exactly what I'm talking about. He's on Team I5, who is a very good bad team, right? They're the top of the worst. They're one of the top of the worst. They're the solid.
Well, they were.
Yeah, they were. Once upon a time. Rip them. Durgius was on that team as well. And, you know, Durgius, I guess, is... I mean, he's iRaffer's a better example. He's on I5, a team that like wins until they go against big boys and then they lose, right? And they're doing well in these weeklies until they lose because they're just not as good as of a team in general. iRaffer goes from I5 to a different team that I can't recall and like does well and then finally moves on to Mortality. Bloody Tech.
No, so he was on Mortality the whole time, essentially, I believe.
I thought there was an in-between team. I could have sworn there was an in-between team. I think that was
Bloody Tech, which was Mortality.
Okay. I really thought there was an in-between team. But regardless, iRaffer does well in ranked, gets drafted onto an I5 team, which is, you know, middle of the bay. And They don't win, but watching him play, you could see that he was better than his team, and the big boy teams recognized that. And he got brought on to what the future of Bloody Tech was, SPL, avoid wild cards, didn't make it to the playoffs, but they were top 4, which is very good. And they did well. And, now I don't think they're together any longer, but that's sort of, I think, the ideal path, which is what Meerkat was talking about. Get on a shitty team and be better than everyone on your team. Because if you're not going to tighten it, meaning like if you're not going to get better as a unit, use your team as a platform, because you're going to be streamed at some point. You will be streamed. The Challenger Cup production staff, me and Krett, we show good games. That's my number one.
Yeah.
When I want to show a Challenger Cup game, when we're doing the Challenger Cup stuff, I look at Krett and we look at the casters and we're like, hey, who are we casting? And it's like, all right, the first match we usually have like a fan favorite, right? Like it's Lydia's team versus the 5 Angry Hindus, and nobody's going to be shit stomped, and it's going to be a good 20-minute game. We're going to have fun and hooray. The next game, we'll have like a slightly competitive team. We haven't seen this team play yet on stream. Let's highlight them. You're going to be on stream, bro. So if you're not going to be there with your full team, just be better than your team, and that's how you get noticed. And the Combine is a great side order. Like, nobody's getting full off of a Combine, but when your plate comes and it's a Combine and a shitty team and ranked and a weekend tournament and Tuesdays on Smite Central, that becomes part of a balanced breakfast, right? And like, that's really what it's all about. You need everything. And I guess what we're trying to say here, folks, is that yeah, it's a huge investment, both time-wise and energy-wise, and you gotta fucking do it all if you want Smite to do it all for you.
Well, and the other thing to mention here, EU Challenger Cup was completely dominated by Agilitas, now Titan. North American Challenger Cup was rambunctious. Like, it was just all over the place. We had a variety of teams getting to the finals. And there was one... Okay, so my point here is, when you are playing on a intermediate stage like the Challenger Cup, you are responsible for your actions, and you should try and look good. Not in terms of your gameplay, but in terms of your attitude, how you handle yourself, etc., because that also matters to get on a team. I remember there was a time where this player, Just a Banana 21, gets to the finals with his team, and then leaves to go to homecoming. And they can't play the finals. You shouldn't do that. That's not a good thing to do.
That is really not I mean, to be fair to my homie, Just a Banana 22.
Sure, to the homie.
It was homecoming. It only happens once. But, and I do need to put this out there. Just a Banana 22 is actually pretty good.
I remember back when Adonis, before he was hired as Adonis, when he streamed on Smite Pro, his Smite Pro slot was entirely him getting Just a Banana in his games, and him just getting so mad at everything this guy did. It was really funny. It was really funny. It's such a good name!
Dude, it is such a good name, because it's like, what are you doing? Don't worry, he's just a banana. But, like, homie wasn't the worst of the worst. He wasn't exactly Barracuda level, but you bring up a great point, and I feel bad because, like, I remember specifically going live and just sort of laughing. It's being like, yeah. All right, so your finals are canceled. They're being forfeited by this team because Just a Banana has to go to prom. Like,
yeah, and, like, the reason I use that as an example because it's mostly funny, and it's not really, like, he wasn't being an asshole, he just had to go to prom and whatever. It's kind of funny, and probably not what he should have done, but it's funny, so whatever.
Well, see, and also, like, something tells me that Just a Banana 21, excuse me, chat, something tells me that it's not exactly his goal to be a pro Smite player.
Well, he was in the Combine, I believe, so who knows.
Okay. Well, that gets, and we're laughing, and, like, dude, homecoming's a big deal, and I wouldn't say... That's what we're talking about.
Like when you got a hot date, man. Like eventually, Zapman will just do the same thing. He's gonna be in like the finals of a LAN. He's like, I got a date, guys. I gotta run.
She's a dancer. I gotta go. You understand? But seriously, I mean, like priorities and stuff like that. That's what people notice. You know, people are noticing that. People are taking that into account. So when it's, you know, when you're playing in the Challenger Cup or the Combine or whatnot, it's not always what you do on the field, it's what you do off the field that come into play. I mean, take a look at personal conduct. Huge deal. There are SPL players, not going to name them. Team plays well. He's a support, picks a different support than usual. Team loses.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
I know, you already do. He posts publicly on Twitter, quote, well, actually, fuck the quote because I'm going to paraphrase here, but he posts publicly on Twitter with a negative connotation, I can't play anything but Athena because my team needs to be babysat. They're not good enough for me to play something else. Or like Athena and Geb. You know, like, those are the two supports I have to play because my team sucks. That's what he says. Now, if that wasn't an SPL team, you get to break the rules once you learn the rules, right, Krett? And I don't give him a pass. That's bullshit. But if that came out of the mouth of a Challenger Cup player, dude, everyone is watching and you will not be on a team. You just won't. That dude was on an established team, and his team was able to move past it and go ahead and do that. But he's already there. That's the type of stuff that you have to watch out for. You know, it's the outside the line stuff. Your conduct in public on Twitter. You know, your dedication to the game. Are you going to leave for a date? That stuff is super important, and people take note. So, you know, it's all fun and games with just a banana leaving the Challenger Cup to go to prom, but like, realistically, if that was week 2, week 1, that wouldn't be okay because seed points matter. That was week 7 and we can laugh about it. But if that was week 1 or 2, that wouldn't be okay, Charlie. That would be really stupid because let's say you lose your opportunity to go to wild cards by 50 points. Guess where those 50 points went? Those 50 points went to just a banana going to prom.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing is really what matters. There's a lot that matters when teams are looking at you. So if you're trying to become noticed and everything, be aware that it's a like 24/7 global media monster that happens, and everybody's always looking.
And just to clarify, chat, the player F. is talking about was Durgius. You can find him on twitter.com/Durgius.
It wasn't Durgius. It wasn't Durgius.
No,
Krett,
but
like,
I mean,
has a boner for talking bad about Durgius.
It's really fun. It's basically all I do with my entire life. I've made a career out of it. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of stuff goes into a professional team. Let's think about the future, right? Assuming Smite continues to be successful,
okay,
eventually teams are gonna have team houses, right? Like, that just sort of seems obvious. Like,
I've heard whispers of that already happening soon.
Exactly. Okay. Are you gonna want a team house when a certain member of your team is just a complete fuckboy? Like, no! You're not gonna want to live with a fuckboy!
No, you really... Yeah, exactly.
You're not gonna want to grind through the entire pro league with a fuckboy. You're not gonna want to go to LAN to him. Like, the people who are on your team are essentially your business partners, right? Like,
yeah.
You need to have the right atmosphere. You need respect and consideration, and you need to be able to talk to each other, and that's really hard. A lot of teams have trouble with that. And making sure you have a good attitude within a team environment and within ranked, right? You don't want to be that guy who goes to a LAN event and everyone doesn't like you because you're an asshole. Like that
Toxicity.
Sucks. Yeah, there you go. You don't want to do that. You don't want to.
You didn't want to go there, but I'm down.
I wasn't talking about Toxicity. I was talking about Mask, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
and they're on the same team, which is funny.
Has Mask come to a LAN event yet?
No.
Word. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing. I mean, That's definitely a thing, and you don't really want to be associated with that. Like
Yeah.
you saw the Toxicity team sort of like, dude, it's like bringing that kid to a party, right? Where you're like, God damn it! All right,
What's
man.
he doing now?
Yeah, like I hear someone yelling at him, and you gotta like.
He's doing what with Jello shots?
But now he's on your team. He represents like you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to think about that. Like all of these things are definitely part of what we consider a team. You know, you don't sign off and your team is no longer a part of it, right? Like, I mean, you look at the successful teams that we've had in Smite, and you know, the COG guys now Cloud9, they're like best friends, dude.
Yeah.
Jeff Hindla and Barracuda, their parents hang out at LANs.
Yeah,
like
Jeff and Barracuda definitely spoon, like
like their parents hang out at LANs, you know, it's important. That's super
to be fair,
important.
both of their parents are mad chill.
Yeah, no,
Great
I
parents,
mean,
like
yeah,
A+.
I mean, yeah, I mean they're great dudes. What would you expect? But I mean, it all goes back. I always bring this up, and it is such a good anecdote. Is the first rule or the first tip, you know, in commentating when you have a new commentator is go to lunch, get the hell out of the booth, go to lunch, and get to know each other.
Still yet to take me out for lunch.
That's not true. I've bought you lunch or dinner before.
When?
I don't know. I just get a pound cake and give you a glass of water. That counts, right? For you. No sauce, no flavor, no taste. Just cake, please. Nothing. No, even cake might be too much. Just bread and rice. White rice and water.
Just white rice. Just white rice and water. Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good.
Oh man, we went to a ramen place. It was like renowned all over East Coast. We got ramen. Bart gets like some super like delicious ramen. You know, Coleman gets something off the menu. I get something. I'm a little noob. I just get this stuff, and like Krett's like, I'll have rice and a water to drink, please. We're all like drinking sake, and like Kelly gets some like steak skewers, and Krett's like, I'll have some more rice, please.
I had chicken. I had the chicken yakitori. It was really good. It was just chicken, but it was really good just chicken.
You were like, can I have the chicken yakitori? No yakitori, please. Just chicken. Thank you. No sauce, no flavor. It actually hurts when things are good. Thank you. And we're like, okay, Krett. Okay,
I'm really easy to please. Like, this is not a bad thing. When I was a kid, I used to go over for sleepovers with my friends. I was like 8 or whatever, right? And their parent, it would be like dinner time, and I wouldn't want to eat what their parents were serving. And at first, their parents were mad. And then they realized they could just give me bread and water. And they're like, this is so easy.
We just have to treat you like a prisoner at Gitmo.
Yes. And I'm
you're
down.
Totally fine. Yo, shouts to Kretuhtuh. Statistically speaking, cutting this bread into fourths is more effective than how you're serving it.
I hate numbers! I hate math, dude!
That is what it's like to eat with Krett.
I don't
He
even
prefers
like
rice.
I like rice. I love chopsticks. Chopsticks are great.
But I mean, these stories are why Krett and I can like do what we do, right?
Yeah.
Like we have worked together for so long, Krett, like a year and a half solidly, right? Since that's probably when no, not a year and a half. Solid year.
Your first casting was like
January 13th, 2014.
Yeah, that was a year and 2 weeks.
Weren't we doing stuff before that?
No.
Tier
I
Monster?
thought you were a shitter.
Oh. Well, I mean, I thought you were a shitter and I was correct.
The first time I saw you casting, I was just like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
He looks like he plays like the Knicks.
Yeah. He has swag in his name. I don't want him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Quote unquote DM Brandon. That's what DM Brandon said too.
To be fair, you had swag in your name. That's actually another topic. Talking about getting on teams is the way you present yourself is important. Like, having a shitty name will actually stop you from getting team invites.
To a certain extent. I mean, like, if you have, like, I don't know. You know BHD?
No.
Butthole dude?
Yes.
Do you think he'd have a problem getting on a team because his name is Butthole Dude?
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, what's in a name? Really nothing, because you can always change it, right? Like,
kind of. I mean, once your brand exists, right? Like Weekend can't get rid of his 3.
Right, yeah. That's fine.
And, like, yeah, I mean, eventually there's a point where you can't change it, but You know, like, if your name is Butthole Dude, then you're like, I want to take Smite seriously. You're gonna need to change your name before you start talking to sponsors.
And he has. He is now BHD the Truth.
That's amazing.
He is BHD the Truth or something like that. But I mean, think about it. For a long time, one of the most prolific middle laners in our game was just called the Best.
That's a good name, though.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just the best. Like, we've had a lot of like crummy names. I mean, Shadow Nightmare, dude. You sound like an anime.
A bad name. Yeah, that's.
You sound like an anime, but he's a good player. So I think names. I totally agree with you on how you present yourself, but I think names are sort of a lesser thing. But going to what I was saying is like the reason Krett and I can like do so. We've been working together for like a year, and like we've roomed together totally. I guess like probably a solid 30 days plus, dude. Like rooming together and just like we understand, we get each other. We've hung out.
What am I
and
doing
like,
with my life?
Yeah, I think about that every time I talk to you, but. You know, there's this sort of like we get it. We have a connection and like that works, and that's why we can be such a good team. You know, you take a look at Team Solo Mid, the Team Solo Mid in the moment of winning the launch tournament. Zimstar wouldn't let them walk down the block. He ordered a taxi for them. They hung out by themselves the whole time. You know, they were very inclusive. They like just get along. Trickstank and Cuvo Fred are basically the same dude. You know, you look at Cognitive Gaming, now Cloud9. You look at Cognitive Gaming, the team that won the world championship, and we talked a lot about how even the parents hang out together. Like they just get each other super well. That's the type of dude. That's what it takes. Those are the type of people. I'm going to stress people, not dudes. Those are the type of people that make a successful team. Relationships are just as important as mid-camp timers.
Do we want to take that segue?
I sincerely believe that. I sincerely believe that. I mean, we could.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I feel inspired. So, yesterday, there was a post on Reddit and a corresponding Twitter post by Stu. Stu Schism. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I should know that.
I like to say Schism.
Schism.
It's probably wrong. I'm sorry, Stu.
Who thought... He said, I don't feel like my daughter would have the same opportunities becoming a pro Smite player as my son. What can we at Hi-Rez do to change that? And that's a noble idea. So let's talk a little bit about this. And we did just talk about what it takes to become a competitive player. It's a grind, right? You have to get destroyed in ranked, then get destroyed on a team once somebody notices who you are, and grow up with that team until either you join a new team or your team gets really good, and then you can play professionally and get destroyed in the SPL. Until you stop getting destroyed and you become a really good team. That's really hard. And should it be different for women? Probably not.
I don't think so.
But there are ways in which there can just be added ways. There are a lot of things that can go wrong on that path, and for women, I think there's just an added element. Like, in ranked, there are going to be sexist people who are like, oh, you're a girl, you're bad, right? And joining a team, there are teams where, like, they might be sexist and they don't want you because you're a girl, even though they won't admit that, or, you know, they don't feel like it's that way, they might, right? Or
which, let's just say, is...
Smite's pretty good about it.
Smite is pretty good about it. I just want to interject one statement and be like, that is fucking stupid. It would be a great business move to have the first female pro gamer. Keep going, Krett.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or it can affect your team atmosphere, which is crucial, right? Like, team atmosphere is one of the biggest intangibles. It's something that's very difficult for a team to have done right. And when I was on Borderland Gaming NA, we had a female player on our team, Ravene, who is my lane partner. And our team had a really bad atmosphere for a variety of reasons. One of those reasons was that she felt threatened because she was the only female on a team full of dudes. And that's kind of like her problem. But at the same time, like, it's sort of understandable. Like, she feels outnumbered. And she shouldn't, because we're just a team. But she did.
Right. And I mean, is that on her, or is that on, like, was the team Did the
No,
team put her in a
team was
precarious
fine. I
situation?
think it was primarily like her problem, but
Okay.
it was a problem that's created by the fact that our society has like deeply ingrained systems of sexism. Like that's why.
Yeah.
It's just her problem. It just affected her because of her own stuff. And like that's just an added factor, an added way things can go badly, which sucks. There are some players who hit a skill cap. There are some players who have communication issues. There are some players who can't accept constructive criticism. There are some players who feel threatened because of some outside factor, and for her that's what it was. And it sucks that there's just like an added thing that can go wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's totally a big thing. And that's a rough story. Because it begs the question. Was it the environment that you guys created, which it sounds like it wasn't? It was just a personal.
The environment
sort of
wasn't
like,
great, but it felt like it was really a personal thing. In retrospect.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And like I totally think that's fair. I don't think just because we're having the conversation of women in pro gaming that we have to make them into deities. Maybe, is her personal issue, and that's totally fair.
But it was a personal issue that is essentially like the root cause is the fact that society is sexist. Like that's where it comes from, right? Like it's her thing, but that's the explanation.
Yeah. I mean, shit, dude. I looked at Twitter right now, and I have a female on my Twitter feed saying, "Why is it every time I play online, people assume I'm a guy?" And I'll tell you right now that this girl's exceptional at video games. And I mean, that's sort of like we as gamers, and I'm going to say we, maybe not you and I, but I'm going to throw ourselves in the community of gamers because that's exactly what we are. We as gamers assume the players are male until proven otherwise, right? Like the de facto answer is like you're a dude, right? I mean, I can honestly say that unless your name hints that you're a female, I tend to assume that you're male. Do you make that distinction, or you just assume no gender?
I mean, I'm pretty sure the first time DM Brandon played against Mochi, he thought she was a guy. Like,
yeah, and to be
how that works.
And like because you and I are how we are, I mean, we know how we are. Maybe the audience doesn't, but like I find out you're a woman, and I go, okay, sweet. Like, it's not a positive nor a negative. It's like, okay, sweet. Like, you probably have longer hair, maybe not. You could have a pixie cut, I don't really care. Like, sweet. That's the difference, right? There's some, like, genitalia, but, like, at the end of the day, you're the same freaking person, right? I really don't care. Yeah. Other people bring different thoughts into it, which is it's incredibly strange, and I just don't understand it. And maybe someday we can get somebody on here that's a little more closed-minded because I just don't get it. I don't understand that thought process. It's kind of disgusting to me. But I mean, like getting this whole like gender barrier is so interesting to me, and I think it's the original statement was, should Hi-Rez do something about it? And you take a look at the responses. You have Hi-Rez Kelly, who I mean needs no introduction. You have Zyrex, a longtime friend of mine, who's exceptionally good. She played a lot of WoW and was like one of the top warlocks in the world during Burning Crusade, one of the most like competitive times in World of Warcraft. There's a lot of people that responded here, and the general feel from a lot of the females is like, nah, go away. Let us just do it. And I mean, like, that's the correct way to handle it, I think.
Yeah.
But there's also a conversation to have past that. And I think that Kelly's like, no, by no means give us an all-female combine. Completely agree, thumbs up. A lot of people say, do not give us a female, like, division. Absolutely not. With traditional sports, you have to, right? Like, I really, really don't want Sidney Crosby cross-checking like Erin Andrews, okay? I don't want that to happen because bodies are different, right? Like a female can't play hockey against a male. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to say that about American football. Erin DeMiglio, first female quarterback. She plays for a high school team in Florida, and she came out last month or so and played quarterback, and she did well.
Well, it's also just like when you're talking about sports, it's sort of it's a physicality thing. Like, it's anatomic, right? And there are possibilities where you could have a woman that, for whatever reason, can fit in with the way that people's bodies are in male sports.
Like a physical anomaly.
Yeah, or whatever. But, like, that's not enough. You're not going to find enough of them to make a league.
Right, of
Or
course.
whatever.
Exactly. And I mean, like, so American football and baseball are probably the two sports that I would say a woman could play next to males, right? Baseball,
And curling.
you're not... God, I hate you. But sure, curling, Krett, curling. But, like, so baseball, look, you're not going to beat Barry Bonds or Alex Rodriguez as the cleanup hitter anytime soon. But, you know that guy that sits out in left field and steals bases and hits for average? Yeah, a female could do that. No problem. Pitcher? Monet Davis? Yeah, a female could do that. No fucking problem. There are special rules in American football when it comes to how you can harass the quarterback. You can't hit them super hard. You can only hit them when they have the ball. Da, 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 da. And that's what we're talking about here. Erin DeMeglio played quarterback for her school, did very well, or didn't shit the bed completely, you know, and it worked out. That's cool. Good for her. I hope
Sure.
she continues doing it. And those are the only two sports that could possibly do it, because every other sport, even basketball, which is non-contact, you could not keep up, right? That's the beauty of video games and esports. You can do that. There is no goddamn difference between me or my fake sister playing Smite. Hand-eye coordination, mental acuity, mental agility, interpersonal relationships, all conflict resolution, problem solving. Krett, do any of these have any impact on gender?
No, but I bet she'd look a little bit better in the jersey.
Yeah, she'd probably look better in the jersey than me. You're right. But my point remains.
Yeah.
My point remains, like, there's no reason. There's no freaking reason. If you guys remember in DreamHack last couple of months ago, Hearthstone was restricted to men only.
Yeah.
I probably lost some Twitter followers. I went off, dude.
It's ridiculous.
Went off. Dude, I went off. And because it's infuriating, dude.
You can't even make, like, the bullshit reaction time argument. Like, there's nothing.
Like, if you want to be stupid and tell me that men have a better reaction time because of some sort of longer muscle in my forearm, you know, from years, like, you want to go ahead and do that.
And let's be honest, that's just a horrible rabbit hole, because then you get into, like, the genetic differences between races, and it's really bad.
Don't be
that guy. It's really bad.
That's exactly what I was referencing. But, like, you know, you really want to be that guy and say that, well, I'm going to point to Scarlett playing StarCraft 2, one of the most demanding APM in games in the world. But, 2, it's Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Like,
you sit in a really comfy chair.
You know who could play Hearthstone? Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking could play Hearthstone. Like,
we're pretty good at it.
Move. He'd probably beat you. Like,
well, I mean, even like I think it's Call of Duty. There's this guy named Nomad who he's disabled, and he, like, plays with his face, and he has his own, like, control scheme set up so he can do that, and he's really good. Like, it's a video game. Yeah. You don't have to run around. Like, you play with a controller. You could do it. You could be good. You could be the best. And individual people are gonna have different strengths and weaknesses, and that's fine. But there's no reason to restrict the league. Now,
yeah, not at all.
What Hi-Rez should do, and really it's more continue to do, is they should continue to moderate people who are being sexist pieces of shit, just like they should moderate people who are being racist pieces of shit. Like, but duh. And, you know, like, maybe even, this is a whole nother conversation, but if they really wanted to step it up, maybe finding a way to moderate cursed voice, just because there are people who will use that as an excuse to be pieces of shit. But, like, that's not really what Stu was talking about in the first place, right? Competitively, it's just like the cream will rise to the top, and right now there's just not enough cream. There are, off the top of my head, there are 3 or 4 really good female Smite players that have played at some point in the game, right? Like
Moji, coming back.
Moji, Ashbear, Raven A. Like, they were great players, and I can name 3. The amount of players I can name that are men and have not made it to the professional circuit is, like, a lot. So it in part probably is a numbers game. And
No, I mean it's definitely not.
Well, the other
like
thing,
it goes without saying. Like
once again, like, let's not be fuckboys and even entertain the differences between races, like biological differences between races.
no, that's not a
stupid as shit.
No,
But
that's
like, Koreans play StarCraft, right? In Koreans, there are two categories of StarCraft players: Koreans and foreigners, and they're
Yeah,
actually called foreigners.
they're actually yep,
Why
Yep.
are like people from Korea with their specific genetic makeup better at StarCraft? No, it's a fucking cultural thing.
Yes,
And
it's a cultural thing.
Is really like that plays into the numbers game for Smite of why we don't have as many women professional Smite players or high level Smite players. Like, it is also a cultural thing, and
I mean,
supporting people who are breaking through that, like Ashbear and Moji and Ravenay and the next one. Like, that's great. Do that. Be a cool person. Support fucking every player that's trying to make it. It's our game. It's our scene. It's fucking hard. And unless they're feeding in your rank game, don't call them a shitter. When they're feeding in your rank game, you say, listen, dude, I'm not talking about you as a whole. I don't think any less of you of a person. But right now, in this specific instance, Mirrorcat, you're garbage.
yeah, yes. And I mean, like, this. So I feel like this conversation was started by Stu as like, it was started like, what can we do to make women more comfortable in our environment? And everybody in the comment section took it as, what can we do, like, what female thing can we do? What should we do to help out? And he does say, it's a fine line between giving opportunity, exploiting, segregating. For one instance, of strategies like running women's only tournament positive, or does it send a very false signal that women don't deserve to play side by side with the men? There's strong arguments on both sides. I don't think his question was, hey, what can we do to highlight women? And the answer was nothing, don't do anything. And that's where I'm going to go. Nothing should be done as far as infrastructure. We shouldn't have a female masters league, right? We shouldn't have a female combine, right? But we can sort of educate people and sort of get people to stop being fuckboys. Like, people are just people. They shouldn't make you nervous. It's a quote from Regina Spektor.
And here's another quote, and just to speak of how even the playing field is, everyone is garbage but Omega. The playing field is even. It's officially even.
Yep. Everyone is garbage but Omega. And I mean, the point is that it's very much us. It's very much us. Me, Krett, all the people in chat that I recognize, and especially the people in chat that I don't recognize. Simple things like what you say, how you say it, how you combine to people. Like, it's really not that big a deal to say destroyed or wrecked instead of raped.
That's not even a gender thing. It's just like
it's
just
not
being
a
fuckboy.
Yes, you're right. It's not a gender thing, but it definitely can be. Mm-hmm. It's extremely alienating, and like, it's really not that tough. It doesn't hurt your life.
You know what I got? I think he got it from Dercius. He used rinsed, and I love that.
Rinsed. I like that.
Rinsed? Yeah, it's good. Right? Like, there's so many things you can say to just equate to, I am better than you. Like, shit talk is great. And awesome and fun. And it's an important part of competitive gaming in our culture. I mean, look at Scott Gandhi. That's his career.
Yep.
But you don't want to, like, you shouldn't actually be offensive unless you're really trying to be offensive, and that is obviously a very dangerous road. Like, if you're picking a fight with somebody, do whatever. I have no, like, advice or say on that. Like, if you're actively trying to make someone feel bad about themselves, that's between you and them. But if you're not, and you're just talking shit, then there's no reason to trigger anybody, and that's totally a
Right.
Tumblr word. But
It
like,
really is a Tumblr word.
but at the same time, it has meaning. Like,
No, exactly.
I dated a girl with legitimate PTSD. Like, you don't trigger her. It's rude.
Yeah,
Like, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah. And you know, it's small things that we can do, and just like the absolute worst thing, and you know, it's really upsetting that I've heard it from my friends that are girls in high ranked, and my friends that like actually suck at the game. You get in curse, and whatever you say is immediately just, oh, you're a woman. We're not listening to you. I don't even understand that. I don't even
That's
understand.
just yeah. Like when I said earlier. Hi-Rez should find a way to, you know, like, or could find a way to moderate curse. Like, those are the people on curse where it's just like, just ban them. Like, they're bad.
Yeah.
You don't want them. Like,
Exactly.
now they might be joking or whatever, and they have a bad sense of humor. Shoutouts to Toxicity or whatever. But like, that's stupid. You're stupid. Go away. Like, everyone's just a player, and realistically, if you're saying that, you're probably in, like, silver or bronze, and you're bad. If you're higher than that, you're a disgrace. Get out of my community, right? But
And
like,
it makes you, and I'm going to go on record and say it makes you a worse player. It makes you a worse player.
sure, yeah.
It makes you a worse. I'm not even going to touch the person. We'll just put it on in Smite terms. If you have 4 great players, and the 5th is a woman, and you're going to sit there and say, nope, we lose because you're a girl. Think about the what ifs. What if y'all teamed up, did great, Challengers Cup, wild cards, Team Solo Mid supports you, you moved to fucking California. But what if you say, no, you're a woman, so fuck that, and I'm going to go lose in bronze? You know what I mean? Like, you are limiting your potential by taking out, sure, it's a small percentage of players. I get that. I totally get that. But let's make up a percentage. 3%, it's probably a lot higher than that, frankly. As far as like women in ranked, it's probably higher than 3% of all ranked players.
I want to
women.
respond to a message from chat. Space Sinister says the culture in ranked sucks, so unwelcoming to women. My cousins don't get on curse because of that. That's definitely a thing, right? Like, people are fuckboys. They're unwelcoming. This is not just to women, though. Like, it's definitely a thing.
Yes.
For women, it's probably more of a thing for women, but it's a thing in general. People in ranked are shitlords, and they should stop being shitlords. Just
I mean,
like
it happens. It happens in Dota with Russians.
Yeah.
The second you get on voice chat and you talk with a Russian accent or an Eastern European accent, because people are uneducated and can't tell Bulgaria from Russia, it's, I'm not listening to you because you're Russian. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and EU people know what I'm talking about. They get, you know, like, I've heard people be like, people don't listen to me because I'm French. And like,
have you like heard the LCS, like the interviews? They just all have crazy accents. Like, I don't know how they do it in general. So, and it's just like, man, you just got to get over that shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another limiting factor. And yeah. it's just another limiting factor, and it's just another thing, and in a way, I'm saying that it's part. I'm not telling women out there to get thicker skin and deal with it. That's really not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is that everybody has to deal with this sort of thing. Unfortunately, women get one more thing that get tacked onto them. Mm-hmm. And that's a reality, and that sucks. So, you know, all we can do as a community is sort of educate people into thinking the other way. I'm not saying you got to open up a Tumblr and like everybody you play ranked with invite to see all your SJW Tumblr stuff, no. Right? I'm not saying you got to go full that way, but like just female toxic curse, dude says, oh great, we lose because it's a woman. Just shut up, dude. Not true. Just play the game. You don't need to white knight her. You don't need to be like, no, I'm sure she's beautiful. She could be fine. We're going to do great. You don't need to do any of that. Just shut up. We're going to do well. Just play the goddamn game.
Exactly.
That's all you need to do. And I guarantee you're not going to change everyone. And that dude might be like, yeah, well, she belongs in the kitchen. Haha, I'm hilarious. And then you both mute him and you continue on with your game.
Exactly.
But there will definitely be some dude, you go ahead and you win that game off of her call. She calls Fire Giant, you guys win the game. That dude's thought process has completely changed.
I hope so.
I've watched it with my friend Zyroxana. She's a high-ranked player. She's not Masters yet. She's on her way. She's good at the game. She's good at video games in general. I've watched it happen. She gets on curse. She streams. Twitch.tv/Zyroxana. She gets a curse. Somebody makes fun of her. She goes, whatever. I've been playing WoW since it came out. I'm used to this. Keep on going. She plays support primarily. She makes a call to rotate or whatever. They do it. They kill. Gold Fury. Win the game. Boom. And she'll get like a message being like, I'm sorry. Like, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. You know? It's not going to happen to everybody. You're not going to change the freaking world. But our community is not everyone that plays Smite. And if we can invite one by one people to our community and change people's minds like that, that's what it's about. So, I mean, like, you know what I mean? That's what I took away from this. Stu posted, what can Hi-Rez do to make women feel better about playing Smite? And I say nothing. What can the player do to make women feel better playing Smite? And it's our responsibility not to be like some white knight, put them on a pedestal, but just be yourself, play well, and encourage people to realize that people is people. And, you know, if homeboy wants to say something funny, remind him that he's really not funny and that she's just as good as him because you're in the same goddamn ranked game. Matchmaking's broken, I know, but you're in the same goddamn ranked game.
It's not that broken. Like,
she can't be that much worse than you if she's in the same game. Like, you know, she got here somehow. So that's the core mentality, is y'all are all the same shitters.
Well, I think Hi-Rez should obviously continue to hand out bans to people who are being complete fuckboys. Yeah.
Yes.
But like, yeah, it's on the players. And honestly, don't just do this for women. Just do it in general. Improve the quality of our ranked games. The next time someone's being a complete shitlord, just be like, listen, stop it. Like, that's all you have to say. And like, they're just going to lose the game by being a toxic person. If you let them be a toxic person, let them know that. And it's probably not going to work. But maybe it'll remind the other people in your game or whatever. And yeah, there are people who have more issues with rank than others, right? When you're a high-ranked player, you're an outlier in the system, and it's going to be messed up.
Yep.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to, like, your average Joe in, like, Silver 3. Like, when someone's in your game, in Curse, in chat, just being a fuckboy, just be like, dude, stop. You're gonna lose this game with your attitude, and then mute them.
Yeah.
And like, continue to talk. Continue to make your calls. And that's all you gotta do.
Yeah. And you're not gonna, like we said, you're not gonna win every freaking battle. There's gonna be some dude with like, you know, generations deep of misogyny in his blood. And like, whatever, dude. Let him.
It's weird
get
that
banned.
it's in his blood too, right? Like, how does it even get there? It's crazy.
Like, just let him get banned. Because it will happen. It's gonna happen. You know, if he's like women hater 69, like he's just gonna get banned.
Yeah,
it's gonna go down.
So let's switch topics and let's talk about the competitive scene for a little bit. 15 minutes left on the show, but roster changes. We're in the midst of we're sort of in the eye of the storm. It seems like it's a little bit calm right now, and then it's probably gonna pick back up. We just saw Cog Prime re-sign with Cloud9. So they are no longer a Cognitive team. And Cog Red's not one either.
Dun 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 dun. Cog has no teams.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Cog has no teams.
I think the thoughts on the Cloud9 thing is, that's awesome. Congratulations to them. Cog has no teams? Like, David Fry, the owner, is... First of all, COG is essentially a Smite-grown organization. Right? Like, that's their primary thing. I think they have, like, a Smash player. But, yeah, David Fry just to put it politically, does things differently.
I mean, it definitely does. Teams really enjoyed being under David Fry. Legitimately. That's not politics. That's just not, well, we don't want to burn a bridge. David Fry is like a cool dude. Really nice guy. And he doesn't take any earnings from like tournament winnings. He doesn't players are treated well, right? Yeah. But what's the biggest difference between cognitive gaming and some of the other teams out there?
To put it less politically, but still somewhat politically, David Fry has his own thoughts about how an esport organization should be run, and he does them. He just sort of does things his way. It's not really the way that other orgs do things.
Well, Cloud9 announced that 2 days ago HTC was going to be a major sponsor of them. HTC being a gigantic team. That's very, very cool. Who sponsors COG?
Website.
I'm already on my way there. I like actually legitimately.
I know they have, like, what's that thing where they send you stuff? Loot Crate? They have a Loot Crate on their jersey, but it's not actually a sponsor or something. I don't know.
No, cognitive gaming, I don't see any sponsors. Teams, image coming soon. Okay, so, oh wow, okay. So Wizrobe, the Smash player, is actually a very good Smash Brothers player. But I don't see any sponsors on this. HTC also did Liquid, but HTC did Cloud9. HTC sponsored 3 different esports teams. Thank you very much, chat. You guys are wrong. Okay. Smite Guru.
Get him.
Is a cognitive gaming sponsor. Okay.
And they definitely put a bona fide boarding company as well.
So sponsors do 2 things for teams. Sponsors give you free stuff. So cognitive gaming is loosely connected to Fry's Electronics. You get free stuff from Fry's, right? Sweet.
Yeah.
But sponsors do things twofold. You get free stuff from the sponsors, and then you get free advertising, I guess. You get recognition. You get a spotlight elsewhere. You get notoriety, And it's not about the footprint. Cognitive gaming is a small team and could grow. And sure, like at the end of the day, Cloud9's 8 bazillion Twitter followers is more than cognitive gaming's couple of thousand. I totally get that. But that's really not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you're sponsored by Razer, you can be on Razer's team site. Cloud9's League of Legends team is on vitamin water bottles. You can buy a vitamin water and look at Meteos. That's a thing.
You could do those at the same time without having to use your smartphone to look at Meteos. He's on the bottle.
And like, that sort of thing is huge for footprint, player just notoriety. Like, that is a huge, huge thing. Huge thing. Gigantic thing. And I think that for all the good things that cognitive gaming did or does as an organization, that was one of the bigger missteps that they've made. For sure. Is not opening the door to bigger sponsors. Because with HTC as a sponsor for Cloud9, Jeff Hinla and Barracuda get new phones. But it's a lot more than that. Who knows? Maybe the next
your phones
HTC...
get Jeff Hinla and Barracuda.
That's what I'm saying. That's not going to happen tomorrow.
But in a year, we're going to have a Jeff Hinla app. And I don't know what it's going to do, but it will be great.
Yeah, and I mean, like, realistically, let's be realistic about this. Cloud9 League of Legends will probably be before that, right? And probably before that, we'll see Team Liquid StarCraft in Asia, in Southeast Asia, right? Mm-hmm. But, like, it really wouldn't be a surprise to me if a year from now I go ahead, I buy my new HTC 7 or whatever, and I open it up, and, right there is the the sports app by HTC Sense, and the background is Meteos. And it's just his stupid hair looking like a bootleg Suntouch. Just like, hey, you know? And that's marketing for the players. And that's a huge opportunity. It's huge. And that's really what like a lot of the players are missing by not being part of an organization that goes both ways with sponsors. So, you know, sure, like, you know, hey, we're part of a team. Razer's my sponsor. I don't like Razer keyboards. Cool. I don't care. You're going to be on the Razer TV commercial.
Yeah, like that's dope.
Like,
and this sort of plays into last week's conversation about Team Not So Dignitas. Like, it's gonna be really hard to do that if they don't join an organization. But they're also flying to California. Who knows what that's about?
Yeah, people in chat. The rumor is that Team Not So Dignitas will be flying to San Jose to meet up. Well, and San Jose is where David Fry is located. He also, I don't know the exactness of it, but he's closely affiliated or owns the San Jose Sabercats, which is an arena football team. And isn't this what we asked of them, Krett? I don't want Team Not So Dignitas to be COG Gaming too, and just can keep on keeping on. But if Anatoly's mind, or whoever is the mind, I mean, that's my assumption. Maybe it's secretly Zapman. Zapman's father runs a very successful business. Maybe it's secretly Zapman, you know, that like comes together with this business plan. Or maybe it's Dare to Care's military experience that like comes together and makes this the business plan.
Or maybe it's whatever Naw does.
Counter-Strike.
Okay, yeah, that's actually legitimate. Sure.
Yeah,
previous experience, larger than life personality and larger than life body.
Yeah, like whoever's bringing the business prowess to the table, right? A meeting of the minds, you know, and then we rattled off a whole bunch of staff from CLG, the only team out there that's sort of close to what Dignitas is doing, right? Or Not So Dignitas is doing. Like players create their own organization. We rattled off like a huge list of people that are involved with the team that don't touch the game for professional reasons. This could be, and I mean, of course, there's speculation. Maybe they go to San Jose to go hang out in a hot tub, and like don't even want to talk to David Fry. But if they are, this is what we asked of them, right? Come up with something, figure things out, meet with somebody that has the infrastructure. David Fry either has the infrastructure or has the capability to get the infrastructure. Get this going, figure it out, and boom, maybe you guys can create the next big brand because David Fry tried, did well, won the championship, but his name was unknown to people outside of Smite. And had he been involved with outside sponsors, like I do not own a team. There's a Cognitive Gaming jersey on the wall right now. He did very well. And I don't think he completely I don't think Cognitive Gaming completely screwed the pooch. But they lost their two biggest teams, which are two of the best teams in the world, and that's not a coincidence, right? Something poor happened. There was some variable that wasn't positive. Maybe the two minds come together. He can go round 2 with more oomph behind him. Team Not So Dignitas can bring Odie did this. We had this, and this. Like, Laz has looked at his computer wrong and got a new Alienware every couple of months. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's sort of, hey, David, maybe we need to do this. Hey, Mr. Cognitive, maybe we need to do this. You know, hey, Brad, maybe we need to do this. Like, maybe we need to do that.
Yeah.
If that really is the meeting that's going on, which is a big if, because we don't know, there's a lot of conversation for both sides to bring, because this is Cognitive Gaming's first entrance into esports, and this is Team Dignitas's first entrance into business. Team Dignitas has done esports, but not business. Cognitive Gaming has done business, but not esports business. You guys meet up together. I kind of like the sound of that.
It could be good. Red has not announced their new sponsor. They're probably in talks for all we know. Because
you got any guesses?
I mean, Cloud9 TSM, like duh, but who knows, right?
Well, Cloud9 is COG Prime.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying Cloud9 TSM. Like, one would be Cloud9, the other would be TSM. It's the classic North American pairing. But, like, who knows what it'll end up being. Complexity, as far as we know, is still Complexity. That's North America. Europe, next week, we'll figure it out. I just threw a bunch of pieces of paper. I'll pick them up, and next week, hopefully, we'll have some answers. But right now, Trig is a thing, Titan's a thing, SK is a thing, everybody else is like, who knows. Last topic, real quick. Public test server. I'm going to say that slower. Public test server is for testing things, which means it's not final. We don't know what Season 2 is going to be like. Stu, on Twitter today, 7 hours ago, said in response to Smitten, yeah, sorry, probably down till late Friday, getting prepped for next set of changes. Because there are gonna be more changes. Because they're changing things. I'm sure Hi-Rez knows Manic Inceptor's crazy. Like, they put in the game. They put Dementor's Doll in the game, that was bad. They put Gauntlet of Thebes in the game, that was bad. There are a lot of changes. They removed Pen from boots. That's really important. That's really smart to do, because right now, for pretty much every character in the game except for Thanatos and Janus, you just get Pen boots, because they're better. And removing Pen from boots allows the possibility of choice, because you can never, ever, not really have a position where you could choose between Pen boots and other boots. Pen boots are just better, or they're worthless, because they're too expensive. Like, it's one or the other. It's a test server. They're testing things. And they're probably going to change.
I get this question nightly, Krett.
Okay.
Hey, I've thought, with the new map and the new items and the new buffs, hunters are not going to be a part of the game anymore. Where do you think, who's going to take Hunter's position?
Oh, can I answer this? Can I answer this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright. I'm pretty sure Hi-Rez likes hunters, and they want them in the game!
Exactly!
What are you doing?
Like, do you really just, hey, KP, you know how you designed Ram and Ho Yi? Fuck them! We don't want them!
We don't want them! Fuck them!
Like,
no! They're not gonna do that!
What?
Hunters need changes. Like, the hunter class needed changes, right? Because the only viable hunters were the hunters with high clear. They fixed that. Right? Like, that's not really a thing anymore. Well, right now, hunters as a class are completely boned, and they're probably going to look at that in PTS too, but the hunters with high clear thing being the best hunters isn't really an issue now. Now it's spread out. High clear is on AMC and Neath. Neath doesn't have steroids, so she's shit late game. Well, shit-er. And AMC doesn't have an escape, so he dies. And, like, those are the characters that can have high clear. And then Apollo, with his global ultimate, has really bad clear. And, like, that's balance. Downsides and upsides. It's great. The problem is, it imbalanced them in relation to Warriors. And I know what some of you are saying. You're saying, Hi-Rez doesn't know how to balance their game. And, to be fair, it's a designer's responsibility to balance their game, right? Like, Blizzard shouldn't be releasing an expansion where Death Knights are doing twice the damage as other people. That's bad. They shouldn't do that. They should know better. At the same time, you try balancing a MOBA. Everything's connected. It's crazy. Like,
people always ask for new items, Krett. What happens when you add a single physical item that gives attack power or attack speed and cooldown reduction?
Better question. Try and add an item without making Sylvanas the most broken support in the game. Like, add a support item without breaking Sylvanas. You can't. Like, there's so much stuff going on. If you look at the recent changes in League of Legends, like, what is it? The dragon changes, right? Like, every time you get dragon now, you get a buff. And, like, there's 5 of them, and they're crazy. That's the kind of bullshit you have to do to balance a MOBA. It's really hard. That's probably not ideal, because you can't, like, it's not intuitive. But you have to just do some stuff. So, it'll happen. PTS is a test server.
There are so many moving parts in a MOBA. There are so many things, and PTS and a huge season overhaul like we're going through right now is a multiple phase like situation. You come out and you say, all right, we're going to change some items. We're going to change some buffs. We're going to change some gods. We're going to change some shit. We're going to take a look at it and then realize it didn't work the way we wanted it to, so we're going to change again. And that's how this stuff sort of works. Like, that's what it's all about. So live is relevant because it's the game you're playing now. There are a lot of analysts, Krett included, and I will never speak to a public test server. Ever. Because unless it's for a thought experiment, right? No. Like, hey, as an exercise, why don't we make a build here? Because it will make you stronger at working the mathematics of Smite.
Sure.
But don't cling on to that. Like, no disrespect to Madman Mark. Like the dude, one of my favorite players in Smite. I want to see him really come up and do well. He made this big Reddit thread on a build he created for hunters. Well, guess what, bro? It's trash because it's getting deleted. Everything's changing. You lose. Yeah. Good day, sir. That it's different. Things are evolving, right? So you can't just you can't take that stuff as pure information. You got to look at it and watch the game progress. That's what PTS is. It's a public test server. You invite the public to come and show you how broken the game is.
Sure. And
that's exactly what it's for.
Here's an example. Loki, right? So they nerfed Aegis Amulet. It can now no longer Aegis you out of a crowd control effect. So what that did before is if you get taunted by Athena, you could Aegis out of her taunt to not get Krakened. Or if you get ulted by Loki, you can Aegis before he auto-attacks you. Now you can't do that. That makes Loki a lot stronger. So a thing that they needed to change in order to make Poseidon viable buffs Loki to a massive degree. So now they have to look at Loki. It's just crazy. There's so much.
There's a I'm gonna throw you for a loop. There's a Malcolm in the Middle scene, okay, that fits this perfectly.
I'm getting up and I'm leaving.
Hal, the father, right? He goes to change a light bulb. Okay, he opens up the drawer to get the to get a screwdriver. It squeaks. He goes to the garage to get the WD-40. To do that, the door breaks. He goes into the garage to fix that. He needs a tool. He gets in the car to buy the tool, and the car's leaking. He's fixing the car, and the wife comes in and goes, "Hal, I know I told you to change the light bulb." And he's like, "What do you think I'm doing?" That's what the PTS is. All right? That's what happens in a MOBA or with Smite. It's piece by piece by piece. It's all connected. You go and you find something wrong, and you find the reason that was wrong is the reason this was wrong, is the reason that this was wrong, and that's what we're going through. So bear with it. Understand the game on the PTS is ever changing, and that's what this PTS is. It's trying to fix a light bulb and winding up fixing the car leak. That's what it is. So I mean, TS is exactly what it is. Test server. Be aware of that. Play your matches on live. Have fun. Join the test server on the weekends and have fun looking at the new map and how beautiful it is, and playing with new stuff, and fill out your bug reports, because that's the only goddamn reason you're playing that server. It's not to be better. It's not to learn about intricate theory crafting.
Really cool, though.
It really is sweet. It's not about anything else. It's about testing the game, figuring out what's wrong with it so they can fix it. Yo, stop coming into my Smite game chat and asking what's going to replace hunters, because hunters aren't supposed to be deleted. It's going to keep going. They want hunters around. Apollo's really cool. They're not going to delete a huge portion of their game. So that's not how that's going to be. It's just a test server.
All right. That's our show. Thanks for coming out. I'm Krett. This is is that way. Twitter.com/Kretuhtuh with a TUH, and Twitter.com/F.NY, all spelled out. We're going to drop them in chat. If you liked our show, it will be on YouTube in about half an hour, depending on my upload rate. So you can show your friends that on YouTube, and we'll be back next week, next Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Any last words, my friend?
Nope, that's it. Just keep on keeping on. Remember that the test server is just a test server, and male, female, dog, or otherwise, everybody's the goddamn same. Just treat your players like players. That's really the end of it.
Dogs are people too. I misspoke. He's not my friend. Thanks for coming out, guys. We'll see you next time.
Peace!